Hello there, friends. It's the festive season. There, that's a much more succinct intro than yesterday's video. It's soft content time. You know what we do when it gets around Christmas. We put our feet up, we have a little bit of fun, we have a little bit of delicious Jack Daniels Tennessee honey. Other whiskies are available. And we're going to do the BBC Quiz of the Year because we did that last year. And, you know, it was good enough, I suppose. I can't remember how well I did. I'd like to think maybe I got about two-thirds of them right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to answer the quiz. You guys can play along at home, keep score. We'll see how we all do. Now, there are only three parts of it available on the BBC website at the moment. The fourth and final part is yet to be uploaded. So probably, oh dear, where's the cap for that whiskey gone? I'll just put it down somewhere. Oh, there we are. It was blending in amongst all the other stuff I've got around here. Yeah, so the first three parts are available at the moment. The final part will be put up on the BBC site within the next few days, within the next week, I assume. So we're going to be doing the bulk of it today, the three quarters of it at the very least, and then we can do the fourth and final part later in the month, maybe alongside the video with the next stage of Milky's announcements or something. But something to look forward to, eking out all the content in many portions. So get ready. There's two of you watching live at the moment. Who knows? A few more may join us during. Uh, just filling up my. I'm having a whiskey and coke. That's what I'm having for this. So let me find the quiz here and get ourselves ready. BBC News Quiz of the Year. There we are. Can you see that well enough? You should be able to, hopefully. If I make it a bit wider, does that help us out at all, maybe? BBC News Quiz of the Year, Part 1. How much do you remember about 2023? Well, I can tell you one thing for sure, guys, which is that we've had about 11 or 12 Milky nominations responses in already, which is good going so far. Let's go double or treble that at least. Um, Quite a number of the things that you've been mentioning as like happenings of the year or blunder of the year or whatever, I've been reading them and going, "Oh, yeah, that happened. Was that earlier this year? Feels like longer." How much of this I actually remember will be interesting to see, I suppose. Oh, mm, that is some fine, fine whiskey. Nothing does it like Jack Daniel's honey. Mm, lovely. Okay. So, test your memory of 2023 in our four-part Christmas quiz. 52 questions for 52 weeks of the year. Part 1 covers January to March. Part 2 is on Friday, the 22nd of the yeah, well, we've got the first 3 parts. So, yeah, we'll get most of it done. All right, guys, if you're watching, that be it watching live or watching, after the fact once it's been uploaded, prepare yourself, okay? You're gonna have to write down your answers as we go and keep score and be honest. Be honest with how you do. No one likes a cheater. All right then. 30 questions about January to March. How many will you get? I'll I'll try to give about a minute per question, just so you guys have a chance to do your answers as well. Any of you here live, do you wanna say hello in the chat? Let me know that you're here, see who I'm playing with or against at the moment, I suppose. And then once we finally finish, then you know, we can all play against each other for the final portion. Anywho, I will click on start in the absence of seeing. So, oh god, it's Prince Harry. Hi, Prince Harry. Question number 1. Royal fans flocked by the Duke of Sussex's pillow memoir, Spare, in January. Prince Harry shared many details of his life growing up and troubled relationships with his family. But who did he say had ordered him to shave his beard? wedding. Oh, well, this is gonna require me having read the book, read the news article about the contents of the book. Can't say I did much of either. His brother, Prince of Wales, father, King Charles III, or his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. Who ordered him to shave his beard before his wedding? Hmm. Well, not knowing the answer to this, I'm gonna say perhaps not his brother. I feel like as far as him being ordered to do something by someone goes, more likely his dad or his grandma, who was also the monarch at the time, they're probably in more of a position to be ordering him to do stuff. Um, it's a bit of a coin toss whether it's Charles or Elizabeth, to be totally honest. I'm leaning towards Elizabeth, but I really don't know. I really don't know if it's gonna be Charles or Elizabeth. God damn it. No, I'm gonna say Charles. I'm gonna say Charles. Oh, okay. Well, at least I would have been wrong whichever way I went. That's something, I suppose. It was Prince William, now Prince of Wales. Prince Harry said his grandmother had permitted him to keep his facial hair, but his brother had been unhappy about the decision. Prince Harry told ITV News, "There's a level of competition there. I remember that Billiam? Ooh, William had a beard himself, and that Granny and other people told him he had to shave it off. Blah, 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 blah. Don't care." All right, well, question 1 was a royal question. We got that one wrong. Did any of you do any better? Move on to question 2. Olympic heptathlete Denise Lewis. Oh, I'm not gonna do this one either. And Queen guitarist Brian May were among the big names to feature on the New Year's honours list. The youngest person to receive an award was Dara McAnulty, 18, from County Down. For what did he receive a British Empire Medal, a BEM? For being a primary school reading volunteer, environmental work and helping autistic people, organising local support groups during the pandemic. Um, I mean, all of them are things that I guess feasibly you could get one of those medals for. I feel that environmental work and autistic people and support groups during the pandemic, that feels more like the kind of thing you'd hear than just being a primary school reading volunteer. And also, in a very unscientific way, the correct answer to the previous question was the first option. So surely, surely if we spin the roulette wheel, it can't come up red twice. It can't be the first option again. That's my Riesling there. Environmental work and helping autistic people or organising local support groups in the pandemic. Um, I I'm gonna go with the middle one. Environmental work and helping autistic people, because organising local support groups during the pandemic, we are now in 2023. If there's gonna be awards for the pandemic stuff, maybe that would come a year earlier or something like that. That's gonna be my vague bit of reasoning, which no doubt won't stand up once I click the answer. So, environmental work and helping autistic people. Hey! There we go. 1 out of 2. Not bad, not bad. It was for his work with autistic people in the environment. Dara, who is autistic himself, described the honour as validation. Young people could make a difference. The oldest recipient, Peter Offord Davis, 100 from Macclesfield, received his BEM for work as a reading volunteer. Oh, and okay, so they all had a little bit of the doorbell has rang. The doorbell has rang mid-street. Sorry. I don't know. Days before Christmas. Okay, where was I? So, yeah, all of those were what people received awards for, but we picked the right one, or at least 1 out of 2. Next one. Kevin McCarthy was elected Speaker of the US House of Representatives after 15 rounds of voting. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this rings a bell. After 15 rounds of voting and heated exchanges that almost saw fellow Republicans come to blows, which member of Congress cast the vote to finally confirm his election? Oh, I remember of this. I remember, like, he was ousted because he'd agreed to some kind of a deal with the Democrats to avoid a government shutdown or something. He'd sort of compromised on some package of things that were gonna be voted through, and then some of the more hardline elements of the Republican Party, which in this day and age is most of the Republican Party, didn't like that. So then they ousted him, and then it took them forever to get a replacement that they could all agree on. Uh, which member of Congress cast the vote to finally confirm his election? I don't have the foggiest. I really don't. 33% chance of getting this right. Uh, Florida's Matt Gaetz. No, silly me. It was Montana's Ryan Zinke. It was Ryan Zinke as the final Republican on the electoral roll. Oh, it's the final Republican on the electoral. Is that because his second name begins with a Z? There could have been a process to be working that out, couldn't there? If it was alphabetical and his second name begins with a Z. I see. Oh well. Okay, 1 out of 1 out of 3. Not off to a good start so one of the world's richest men, Bernard Arnault, the owner of brands such as Tiffany and Moet and wait, no, sorry, Tiffany and Moet& Chandon, promoted his daughter to take over the running of one of his company's flagship labels. Of which fashion house did Delphine Arnault assume control? Oh god. Was all this news? Was this news, this which fashion brands did they assume control? Dior, Fendi, Louis Vuitton? Oh dear. Any of the wiser on this one? Any of you remember that from the recesses of your memory? I don't know. I'm hoping I'll get some like for the slightly more recent stuff in the year. Fendi. No. Dior. I nearly guessed that. It was Dior. Okay. I'm not even reading the paragraph. Don't care about that. Not interested. Okay. 1 out of 4. I have got 1 out of 4 correct so far. Oh, it's a sports one. Um, Anya Sabalenka won her first Grand Slam tennis title at the Australian Open on her way to being world number 1. But whom did the Belarusian player beat in the final? Oh, yes, that final that I tuned into and watched. Ashley Barty, Ons Jabeur, Elena Rybakina. Well, I mean, as an avid Grand Slam tennis fan, I was there watching the title, and of course, I remember it was Elena Rybakina. Ah, yeah. Yeah, I knew that one. How could you forget that amazing battle between Anya Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina? It's seared into my memory. Oh, thank goodness they asked me about something I knew finally. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, 2 out of 5. Starting to look slightly better, I suppose. Um, right. February saw US-China relations become tense following allegations Beijing was using a high altitude balloon to spy on America after one of them was spotted. But where was it shot down? Ooh, yes. Okay, I remember this about the balloons. Where was it shot down? Alaska, Montana, South Carolina. Um, I don't remember the answer, for starters. Alaska comes to mind because it's kind of geographically a little bit closer to China, rest of America. I mean, it's obviously closer to Russia. It's probably therefore also a bit closer to China. But then again, what are you spying on in Alaska? It's probably not much worth looking at in Alaska. Montana and South Carolina, they probably have more stuff going on down there. If you're gonna go to the trouble of flying a weather balloon, look at the things on the ground. But then again, Alaska's pretty far out away. Maybe they've got some secret military bases in Alaska with all the snow and the trees. There's just no way of knowing. Alaska has come to mind when I've been reading this. I'm gonna say Alaska. It was not Alaska, it was South Carolina. It was South Carolina. Fighter jets brought the balloon down in the Atlantic. Oh, well, that's a cheat. That's a cheat. If you'd said, "Was it brought down in the Atlantic?" I would have remembered it was brought down in the Atlantic. When I read the question at first, my first thought was, "It was brought down in the ocean, wasn't it?" And then they threw me by asking me about states. So, no, okay, it was brought down in the ocean near this state, the nautical border of this particular state. Actually, it was brought down in the ocean. I don't wanna hear about the fact that Alaska is attached to the Pacific and not the Atlantic. I don't wanna hear about that at all. Okay, well, there we are. 2 out of 6. 2 out of 6. I've got a third of them right so far. This score can be improved. Art lovers in Miami looked on in horror as a woman accidentally smashed a $42,000 sculpture, but by which artist was the piece made? Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, or Ai Weiwei? Um, hmm. I've heard of Damien Hirst and Ai Weiwei. I know that Ai Weiwei, designed the Bird's Nest Stadium when the Chinese did the Olympics. Damien Hirst, I know that he did a skull, very expensive skull that was covered in jewels or diamonds or something. Jeff Koons is the only one of the 3 that is not bringing anything to mind immediately. I'm sure he's notable for stuff. Um, ooh, either would stuff by Ai Weiwei be in Miami? 'Cause he's a Chinese artist. Probably does much of his stuff circulate outside of China? Damien Hirst, I can imagine it being more likely his stuff might end up in Miami. Frank is in the chat. Hello there. It says, "Hi, Swiss. I hope I haven't missed much." You haven't missed too much, Frank. We are 7 questions in at the moment, and I've answered 2 out of 6 of them correctly so far. They keep throwing me by asking me questions that I don't know the answer to. Um, alright, I'm gonna say it's not Ai Weiwei. It could be Jeff Koons, but I really have no idea. But Damien Hirst, I recognise the name of, so I'm gonna say Damien Hirst. It was Jeff Koons. Okay. It was Jeff Koons, the statue, one of Koons's balloon dogs, smashed into is that ringing any more bells to me? Statues of balloon animals, maybe? No, not really. Smashed into tiny shards and had to be swept into dustpans by gallery staff. It had been part of a limited collection, which has now shrunk from oh my goodness, there once there were 799 of these statue balloon dogs in the world, now there are only 798. They've become that little bit rarer. Local artist Stephen Gamson told the Miami Herald he had been admiring the sculpture when an older woman had tapped it, knocking it off its pedestal. Some of Koon's balloons are 10 feet high, but at 1'4", this one was just a puppy. Ah, alright, okay. It was the balloon dog. I'm still 2 correct so far. Politicians across the spectrum paid tribute to the first female Speaker of the House of Commons, Baroness Boothroyd, who died aged 93. For which English constituency did she serve as an MP? Mm. Oh, that's which constituency isn't it? For some reason, Peterborough's jumping out at me. I'm not sure if I've got a particular reason why Peterborough's jumping out at me. Maybe just because I've heard of Peterborough in the past few years. They might have had a by-election at some point. West Bromwich is also viable. That's the name of the place. Dewsbury. I mean, it could be any of them. In fact, no. It's definitely one of them, and it's definitely not two of them. All right, you guys, you guys answer. You know, don't use Google. Uh, I'm gonna say West Bromwich. Oh! Oh, yes, correct guess. Correct guess. Pivoted from Peterborough at the last moment. Okay. It was West Bromwich, first contesting the seat of Leicester East in 1957. It took Lady Boothroyd 5 attempts in different seats to be elected to Parliament, eventually succeeding in a 1973 by-election. Served as Speaker from 1992 to 2000 before going on to become a Baroness in the House of Lords. From 2001, uh, from Baroness in the House of Lords from 2001. Betty was one of a kind, a sharp, witty, and formidable woman. I will miss her, current Speaker Lindsay Hoyle said. Um, Frank says, I know the answer from Jay Foreman's Politics Unboring video. Oh, well, see, look, you've done your prior research. I'd like to perhaps think that at some point in time I'd heard what her seat was. That little bit of memory somewhere in my mind sparked me to pick West Bromwich. That's what I'd like to think. Um, all right then. So that's okay. That's my third correct answer then. Still haven't quite got half of them right yet, but we're getting up there. Singer Rihanna surprised fans around the world. Used her half-time performance at American football's Super Bowl to reveal she was pregnant. With what did she open her routine? Better have my money, diamonds, or umbrella. Hmm. Um, I mean, I didn't see the performance. I remember Umbrella because probably everyone of a certain age remembers the song "Umbrella" by Rihanna because that thing had just non-stop radio play for what felt like months on end. Uh, I reckon I've probably heard "Diamonds" as well. I think I can imagine how it goes in my head. "Better Have My Money," I don't know that. I'm gonna say, ooh, which one would be more fitting for a big opulent event such as Super Bowl though? Maybe "Diamonds" would fit more than "Umbrella," but then again, arguably "Umbrella" was probably a bigger hit. Uh, Swish, your audio is muffled on and off. There's bubble bits. Is that a problem any of the rest of you are having, guys? Are any of you guys having trouble hearing me, or is it something for bubble bits at the moment? Do let me know. Don't write the answer in the chat, bubble bits. You're gonna bias me with what I say. You've got to keep it to yourself. Post it afterwards. See, now I'm gonna feel obliged to pick Umbrella because it will feel like I'm copying your answer if I say Diamond. Yeah, your audio is a bit weird. Oh, what can we do about that? Hang on. Test, test. Hello? Is that important for you? Sound any better than it was before? Uh, fine, I'm gonna say diamonds. Oh, well, at least I would have been wrong either way. At least it was the one that I wouldn't have picked either way. That makes me feel better about it. Worse now? Worse? Oh, this isn't my okay, right, hang on, hang on. Hello? Hello, Captain Swiss here. Can anybody hear me? Is this any better? Yes, I know I was muted there. Is it any better now? Can you hear me any better now? I've done that old chestnut of just unplugging it and plugging it back in, and hopes that would somehow fix it. It's perfect now. Says, but brilliant. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Then, all right, I got the Rihanna one wrong, so I've still 3 out of 9. 3 out of 9, a third correct. We can still recover here. Is it still feasibly possible for me to get more than half of them right? Yes, but I need to get like every single one of them right from now on. Okay. Well, the stakes have increased. In March, King Charles III's state visit to France was postponed after demonstrations by unions ended in violence, as well as Paris, which city had the King and Camilla been due to visit? Avignon, Bordeaux, or Marseille? Is that Marseille? Marcellus? Marseille? Which other city had he been due to visit other than Paris? I feel like it's one of these two. He says one of these two, vaguely enough that he doesn't have to attempt to pronounce them again. I don't remember it being Avignon, but these are locations I hear about more often in the context of France. Marseille, thank you, Bubbles. Muy bien. Como tu, muy bien. I'm gonna say Bordeaux. Oh, yes, that feels good. That feels good. We got that one right. It was Bordeaux. The 3-day visit, King Charles' first since taking the throne, had been postponed because all of the rioters rioting in France because of that old Macron. All right then, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. I'm nearly there. I've nearly recovered my honor. I might get over half of these right yet. Oh dear. Michelle Yeoh became the first Asian woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress as multiverse adventure Everything Everywhere All the Time dominated the Oscars. During the ceremony, actor and director Elizabeth Banks presented the Best Visual Effects Award, accompanied by what kind of animal? Accompanied by what kind of animal? On stage with her at the award show. I mean, I struggle to imagine it was a bear, unless it was a publicity stunt for Cocaine Bear finally getting the recognition it deserved. In that vein, trying to imagine various animals on stage, a big old grizzly bear, no. A donkey, no. A chimpanzee, yes. I can imagine a chimpanzee on television. Nice little friendly chimpanzee. That's what seems more feasible to me. But then again, whatever this animal was, I'm going to guess maybe it was somehow related to whatever the film was. Maybe. There's just no way of knowing. Most of this entertainment and sports stuff, I don't follow at all. I'm going to say a chimpanzee because I imagine that you'd have less trouble getting a chimpanzee on stage because it's smaller and probably a bit more well trained. No, it was a bear. Oh, it wasn't a real bear. It was a person in a costume. Well, that's a trick question. I feel that was quite an unfair way that they phrased that. Accompanied by what kind of animal, not accompanied by a person in what kind of an animal costume. I would have been more inclined to think bear if I'd known it was a person in a suit. Here was me trying to think of actual animals. Disgusting. It wasn't even a real bear. That's the last time I watched the Oscars. Well, that's the continuing. I will continue not to watch the Oscars. So much nonsense. Says Bubblebiss, I didn't make it halfway through Everything Everywhere. Also, hi Swiss and Frank, Merry Christmas, Bubblebiss, and to all of you listening as well. All right then. So that one was wrong. So I'm on. What am I on? Was I on 4 out of 10 before? Am I now on 4 out of 11? Or was I on 5 out of 10? Can one of you remind me what I was on? I think it was 4 out of 10 before, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm on 4 out of 11 for now. I think the quiz will tell me at the end anyway. Astronomers were treated to the sight of 5 planets lined up with the moon in the night sky at the end of March, but which of these was not in the so-called planetary parade? Was it Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn? Which of these planets was not in alignment with the other planets? Uh, ooh, I mean, of those three, the planet that's the furthest away from us is Saturn. I've really got no way to make a good educated guess on this. I don't know. But I know that Saturn is the furthest of those three. Saturn is the furthest away, so maybe it was planets that are closer that are probably maybe easier to see. That I don't trust the logic of that deduction, but I'm gonna say Saturn. I want to believe Mars and Jupiter were probably easy enough. Uh, to be lying. Okay, Saturn. Hey! It was Saturn. Okay, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, or Uranus, as we now call it, Mars, and the Moon aligned in an arc across the evening sky with some visible to the naked eye. Last year, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn came together. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, right. So I got the right answer. It may not have necessarily been for the right reason, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm happy enough with that. So where does that put me? Five questions, 5 correct answers out of 12 so far. All right. I'm not going to achieve my goal of getting half of them right, but I might, I might be able to say I got nearly half of them right. Sky Echo 7 says, "Missed you again. Oh, you're still here." Yes, I'm still here, Sky. And in fact, you've only missed the first part of this. There are 3 sections of this quiz that we're going to be answering, and we've only finished the first one now. So by all means, what you can do is you can watch the next couple of sections now as we're doing it, and then go back and answer the first one once the stream's finished, and then you'll have your total score ready for when we convene again in a few days or a week to do the final part of the quiz. All right, then. Final question of the first part, then. Singer Taylor Swift took to the road for the first time in almost 5 years as she launched her much-anticipated Eras tour. But in which US city did she play her first night? I don't know this. I don't know this. I've got no way of knowing this. Glendale, Kansas City, or Nashville? I've got no. While I ruminate on that, guys, I'm just going to pour myself some more of this delicious Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey. Funnily enough, Tennessee. I think that's related to the some of the options we've got here. I know Nashville. Nashville's in Tennessee, isn't it? Is Kansas? What about Glendale and Kansas? What states are they in? I'm pretty sure Nashville's in Tennessee, at the very least. Sky Echo 7 says that's weird. Link to video started with an ad and then from the start, not live. That is strange. YouTube's made some interesting updates to the way that they do ads now. This happened a few weeks ago that they now, if I'm having ads enabled, it wants it to have mid-roll ads, and it either says you pick where the mid-roll ads are, or YouTube will choose for you where the mid-roll ads are. So I say, YouTube, you can choose for me, and then it tells me, do you want to have a few, an average amount, or a lot? And then I say a few. But it's like, I think the option was conservative, a conservative amount of ads. So I say I'll have a conservative amount of ads, so as not to bother you all too much. But back when it was the old system, I didn't enable mid-roll ads. I think very, very rarely I would do for like if a stream was like 3 or 4 hours long. But generally speaking, I'd just enable one at the beginning and one at the end, and then that was it. Although that's not exactly relevant to what you said because you saw an ad at the beginning. That wasn't a mid-roll ad anyway. But maybe because of the fact that they've changed it, that's why it did the weird thing with showing you an ad and then starting the beginning of the stream, even though I'm actually still live. I don't know. Kansas is in Arkansas, says Jack. All right, what am I going to say then? Glendale, Kansas City, or Nashville? Kansas City. No, it was Glendale. Glendale, Arizona. Swift had promised to journey through all my musical eras, and the appetite for tickets was so great it caused Ticketmaster's system to crash. Despite that, the tour broke the record for the most concert tickets sold by an artist in a single day. Wow. Well, here's me under my cultural rock. Right, so at the end of round 1, I scored 5 out of 13. Should I make a note of that score somewhere? Hang on. Let me get a little pen out here and we'll write this down. So part 1, 5 out of 13. Okay. Let's ready ourselves for part 2 then, guys. Fortify yourselves. Pour your drinks out. Get ready. Because if part 1 took us half an hour, God knows we're going to be here for, well, getting into the evening probably. Bobovis says, haven't seen an ad yet. Hey, good for you. NA, hello, says, Merry Christmas, Swiss. Wishing you and your family all the best. Hope the recovery for your family member is going well. Thank you very much, NA. And I can say it is, yeah. It's a long process for them. But it's arguably going about as good as you could expect, or indeed better. They're able to come out of hospital for a few days to actually spend Christmas with the family, which is really nice. So yeah, I'd say it's about as good as we could hope for at the moment, to be honest. So thank you. Sky Echo 7 says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Sky. Bubblewith says, BBC questions are so done. Well, in that festive spirit, guys, let's crack on with part 2. So, any of you that were here long enough, were any of you here for the span of the whole first part? Do any of you have your scores of how many questions you got right before we embark on part 2 of our voyage of discovery? And what was my rating? 5 out of 13. I am a blank space, as opposed to Exile, which would have been the worst, or Bad Blood, or Wildest Dreams. Those are obviously all terms that tie together and mean something to somebody. They're obviously all there's obviously a meaning to those. They're obviously all they're linked to something. It will mean something to someone what those phrases mean. Are they Taylor Swift songs? I don't know. Swiss, have you signed up your leaflet delivery for me? Are you pro close down the library, Brexit, and close down bus routes? Says Sir Richmond Orstmanbed MP. I need to win at the general election. Well, the good news is, Sir Richmond Orstmanbed MP, you're already an MP. You're the incumbent, so you've got a fair chance. I don't think you need me. All right then, part 2, April to June. I'll hold on just a tick to see if any of you guys have your answers or your scores from the previous round for me. But there's now 8 of you watching, so we've got a decent audience for this round. So I'll just remind you guys, just as we're going through this, you're welcome to write down in the chat what your answers are or were, but kindly do it after I've put my answer in, because otherwise I might read your answer and then be tempted to pick your answer as my answer. One way or another, it might throw me. But yes, you're welcome to say what you put afterwards once we've got the answers in. Okay, part 2, April to June. Let's see where we are. All right then. And what did I get for part 1? 5 out of 13. All right, we've got some ground to make up if I'm going to get over half of these questions right. April, Sir Elon Musk's SpaceX company succeeded in launching the biggest rocket ever for the first time. What was its name? Starliner, Starlink, or Starship? Oh, is this a trick question or not? Because I've definitely heard of Starlink in relation to Elon Musk, but I don't know if that's to do with a network of satellites he's got. I'm sure I've heard something about Starlink to do with the Ukraine war and providing satellites with Starlink or something. So would that be the name of the entire enterprise, or is Starlink just one particular thing and the actual rocket that he's working on has a different name? Starliner or Starship? Uh Starliner feels like a bit of a naff name. Then again, it could easily be Starliner, so I'm gonna go Starlink or Starship. Because Starlink is the only thing I've heard of in relevance to Elon Musk, so I'm going to say Starlink. Nope, nope. It was Nicki Minaj's Starship. All right, Bubble says I know this one because I'm an Elon fanboy. Well, I'm assuming you got this one right. Bubble says it was Starship. Starlink is a satellite constellation. Yeah, yeah. That was it. I remembered Starlink as being to do with the satellites. I couldn't think of the name of the rocket, so I just thought, well, I've heard of Starlink in relation to SpaceX, so I'm going to say Starlink. But there we are. Well done, those of you who knew that one. It's Starship. About 4 minutes after blastoff from the Texas desert, the uncrewed rocket suffered a rapid unscheduled disassembly, also known as exploding in plain English. Despite this, Musk hailed the test launch a success, and a second, more successful one took place later in the year. Starlink is the name for the billionaire's network of satellites. Starliner is the capsule designed and being built by Boeing to transport astronauts to the International Space Station, which is still undergoing tests before entering use. Well, there we are then. All right, then. No points for me on that one. Well done to any of you who got that one right. Staff at a Mar restaurant in the Spanish city of Barcelona were surprised when former US President Barack Obama arrived for a meal. Which famous singer was with him? Beyonce Knowles, Bruce Springsteen, or Sir Paul McCartney? Oh, oh. Who was with Obama for food in Barcelona? Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, or Sir Paul McCartney? Oh, I really don't know. Does Beyonce do some kind of, is she one of them like pop stars that does sort of like, UN ambassadorship stuff? Sometimes they get celebrities that are singers or in films and they get them to be spokespeople on certain issues for different things. Could that be a way that she'd know Obama, maybe? Bruce Springsteen? I don't know. He's American, isn't he? Sir Paul McCartney, obviously, he's a big name, but he's getting on a bit. Sir Paul McCartney, I'm sure he must be well into his 80s by now. So I can't exactly imagine him jet setting around the world for lunch with Obama. So Beyonce or Bruce? Um, and I also spotted that. Oh, okay, well that's balanced out. So Richmond said Bruce, Bubble Vista said Beyonce. I guess my initial thought, Beyonce rubs shoulders with the politicians because maybe she's involved in some kind of high profile diplomacy or charity work. Oh, now Sky Echo said Bruce. This is why I told you not to write the answers before I've answered it. Because this is exactly what happens. I read your answers, and then that gives me more information to go off and guessing than my own guesses. And then Sky adds no idea, though, to be honest. Oh, well, that just complicates things even bloody further, doesn't it? Right. We're solving this one in the only fair way that I know how. I'm flipping a coin. Heads Beyonce, tails Bruce Springsteen. It's tails Bruce Springsteen. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I think the coin saved me, actually. I think in isolation from any of your answers, I probably would have gone for Beyonce. It was Bruce Springsteen. The film director Steven Spielberg was there too. Springsteen's E Street Band began the European leg of their tour at the city's Olympic Stadium with Mr. Obama, his wife Michelle, and Mr. Spielberg in the audience. Chef Rafa Zafra said the party enjoyed oysters, shellfish, and a classic dish, caviar bikini, adding that he was super grateful. Well, sounds like it was a good time had by all. Okay. Well, that's the right answer. I'll take that. I'll take that if that's what's being offered to me. Next question. Scientists filmed a fish swimming at the deepest point of the ocean ever to have been observed, some 8,336 meters or 27,000 feet down. Where was the fish filmed? The Izu Ogasawara Trench, the Java Trench, or the Mariana Trench? The only one of those three trenches that I've heard of is the Mariana Trench. And I think because the Mariana Trench is the deepest trench that there is, or at least it's the most famous of the deep trenches. I'm sure if someone said to me, what's the name of the deepest trench in the ocean, I would say the Mariana Trench. So if this is the deepest point in the ocean ever to be observed, it's a reasonable guess that that would be in the Mariana Trench because that's the deepest trench that there is, if I'm correct about that. So that's the logic for the answer I'm going to give there. I'm going to go for the Mariana Trench. No, it was not. Damn, I had such false confidence with that. Such false confidence. But I like that some of you guys went for Mariana as well. Apart from Bubblevis, who also did not get the right answer either. Of course, guys, it was the Izu Ogasawara Trench, south of Japan. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? The fish, a type of snailfish, was filmed by an autonomous lander. The depth at which they had seen the snailfish could have been very close to the maximum at which any fish could survive, the lead scientist said. The previous deepest fish observation was made at 8,178 meters further south in the Pacific in the Mariana Trench. Blah, 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 blah. All right, then. Well, there we are. We are not clued in on our deep fish. I went to say deep sea, and I nearly said deep fish, and then I was going to say seology, and it's not seology. There's a word when you're a person that looks in the water for animals, and yet it's escaping me right now. I want to say it's escaping me because I'm just gradually starting to drink ever so more and more of this Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. What's it called? What's the name of a profession where you're a marine biologist? That's what it is, right? Yeah, marine biologist, deep sea marine biology. There we are. Also the quickest to type, says Sky Echo. Bubblevis says it's a horror world down there. Oh yeah, there's some scary looking stuff down there, like fish with like translucent skin that look like they're inside out and big gnashing teeth. And I think there's a reason God put them in the dark, you know. Jerry says, oh, and it gives a £10 super chat. Jerry, Merry Christmas to you too, sir. This will not give you favourable nepotism in the Milkies, mind you. Just a word of warning, but much appreciated. Merry Christmas, fuckface. Thank you. It's probably the nicest occasion I've ever been called fuckface because it's got some money attached to it. Thank you very much, Jerry. And there we go. We'll show that super chat on the screen as well. Right then. Okay, so it was not the Mariana Trench. Look at this. Look at what he's doing now. Everyone vote me as guest of the year. See? This is what happens. Trying to pay his way, trying to buy a little bit of influence with you. Thems of you who haven't yet voted in the Milkies, when you're asked about side chat of the year, guest of the year, you'll go, who do I vote for? That Jerry gave Swiss £10. I guess I'll vote for Jerry then. Yeah. Very, very clever, Jerry. Very clever indeed. I guess the other contenders are all going to have to pay me money now as well. Frank says that should be an automatic disqualification. Well, I'm just going to step back and say that it will not curry any favor with me. All of the votes will be counted in a perfectly orderly and proper way, regardless of how much money anyone throws at me. Next question, as we shy away from this nepotism here. Hollywood A-listers celebrated alongside lifelong football fans. Lifelong fans as a superstar. Let me start that sentence again, shall I? Hollywood A-listers celebrated alongside lifelong fans as superstar-owned club Wrexham returned to the Football League for the first time in 15 years. Which team did they beat to secure promotion? Oh. See, if only they'd asked like what celebrities own the team, I could say Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, because I know that. Who did they beat? I know that I've read this at some point earlier in the year as well, because I remember this story when it happened. I remember taking in that information at the time. I'm feeling either Boreham Wood or Aldershot. Both of them seem to ring a bell. What it'll probably be is it'll be like one of them was the final match and the other one was like the penultimate match that they had. So maybe something like that. Aldershot or Boreham Wood? Aldershot. No, damn it. Damn it. I'm salty about that one. I would have gone for either one of those. I would have flipped either way with that, and I landed on the wrong side. All right then. Oh, Jerry had said, Frank, you are disqualified from the cool dude of the year after that. Bobovis had said Oldham, Borwood County. Skyhook7 said Aldershot, but again, no idea. Well, as it turns out, it was Boreham Wood, but hey, it says the percentages of what other people have guessed here, and the one that most people said was Notts County. So I guess we were less commonly wrong, I suppose. All right then, and they beat them 3-1 to take the National League title. And yeah, Deadpool star Reynolds and Always Sunny in Philadelphia creator McElhenney bought the world's third oldest professional football club in 2020. All right then, so that one was wrong. I've lost count of how I'm doing. I don't think I'm doing very well. I think I've got one or two of them correct so far. The coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla in May was attended by famous faces from around the world, but which of these world leaders was not present at Westminster Abbey? Was it US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, Liberian President George Weah? I know this one. I actually know the answer to this one, I think. Oh shit, no, do I? Maybe I don't. Oh no. Right, before I tell you my process of working out, I'll give you just a moment. I'm not even looking at the chat anymore now, because that might cheat. I'm giving you a moment to come to your own conclusions about this. Okay. My thought process on this. I definitely remember Joe Biden not attending and his wife, the First Lady, going instead. But what I'm beginning to question now was whether or not that was actually the funeral of Queen Elizabeth that Joe Biden didn't attend and his wife went instead. So then maybe Joe Biden did, in fact, attend the coronation when he hadn't attended the Queen's funeral. Do you follow the logic there? I know for a fact Joe Biden sent the First Lady in his place to one of those two events, but I'm now seriously questioning which one it was. Hang on, I have a knock at the door. One. That was just someone coming to the door to tell me what the answer is. No, right. It was attended by famous faces around the world, but which of these world leaders was not present at Westminster Abbey? Oh, Joe Biden was the first one that came to mind, even though I'm really uncertain about the sequence of events of which things he didn't attend. So I'm going to say Joe Biden. But yes, it was Joe Biden. Get in. The US president didn't attend our king's coronation. Whoa. Okay, there we are. I was on the money. I was on the money. It was President Biden. His wife, First Lady Jill Biden, represented the US instead. I did remember it correctly. No sitting president has ever attended a coronation in the UK. The 2-hour ceremony, but well, I mean, yeah, to be fair, I suppose the most recent one behind this one was Queen Elizabeth, and that was in the 50s. And we've only really been properly chummy with the United States for the past, well, kind of since World War II, really. Like, properly chummy. Yeah. Was watched by blah 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 blah. Okay, it was Joe Biden. What did you guys say? Sky Echo says of Camilla, not my queen. Bobovis says Queen Camilla. Lol. Ooh. There's a lot of ill will towards the queen. Is she still? No, she's not. She's not the queen. Was she supposed to be the queen consort? But then they were like, no, she's just going to be the queen instead now. But obviously, it's slightly different from actually being the queen. Sky Echo 7 had guessed Frenchie being Macron, but no, it was US President Joe Biden. Hey, I got one right, and it was a somewhat politically related one. Who would have guessed? All right, next question. Stunning images of the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic were revealed as submersibles took pictures. That's a great name. Why do we call them submarines? Submersibles is much more fun. Took pictures to create an exact 3D reconstruction of the world's most famous shipwreck. How many images were taken to make the scan? Oh, give me strength. I've got no point of reference for guessing how many images you need to construct this 3D scan of the Titanic. Is it 1,500, 12,500, or 700,000? I mean, how quick are these? Is it like taking a video and every second has like 30 frames in it or something, and each frame counts as an image, and it just all of it. I feel of the options provided, 1,500 feels a bit low. 700,000. All right, I'm feeling either 12,500 or 700,000, just because the lowest one probably feels too low. But then again, in terms of orders of magnitude, actually, the lowest and the middle one are closer together than the middle one and the highest one. So I don't know where my logic's going with that one. We're gonna go big or go home. We're gonna say 700,000. Oh, okay. It was 700,000. More than 1,500 people died when the ship struck an iceberg on its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York in 1912. I remember being in college in 2012 when the 100-year anniversary of the Titanic sinking came around, and I remember just thinking, like, wow, isn't it amazing that was now 100 years ago, and now it's 111 years ago. Not to mention, actually, after that, just during the 2010s, it was interesting when the centenaries of the beginning and the end of World War I came about as well. Just kind of going, whoa, that was 100 years ago, and so on and so forth. And here we are now, nearly in 2024. We are but 5 and a bit years away from going, wow, can you believe the Wall Street crash was 100 years ago? The Great Depression was 100 years ago. The rise of fascism in Germany was 100 years ago. The beginning of World War II was 100 years ago. We'll live through all of that, all being 100 years ago as well. That's interesting, isn't it? Okay. 700,000. That's a lot of picks. 700,000 if you use a submersible potato, says BubbleViz. So yes, there we are. 700,000. Hey, it's probably a pretty good reconstruction. If you got that many images, they've probably got all these fine bits of detail on all angles and aspects of it. There's probably some really cool 3D model that you can access online, maybe, and go and explore the Titanic shipwreck. You could all be James Cameron if you really want. All right, then. Well, that's another one correct. That's nice. Swedish star Loreen. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks now. I'm getting flashbacks from when I got kicked off of Twitter, when I was indefinitely suspended for allegedly calling for inciting violence by making an apparently ill-judged joke about hanging the jurors of the Eurovision Song Contest. Swedish star Loreen won the Eurovision Song Contest 2023 with her song Tattoo, but which nation came last in the annual competition? I remember this one. Because I watched it. And it wasn't us, for starters. I mean, we came second last year, didn't we? Because usually we'd finish pretty poorly. I don't think we did. Did we do? I don't think we did great this year, but we didn't do as absolutely terribly as we have done other years as well. No, I know the answer to this one. I can reveal. The nation that came last in the Eurovision Song Contest 2023 was Germany, which I didn't think their song deserved last. I liked it. I thought it was okay. Admittedly, I'm grading on a curve of the fact it's Eurovision songs. Most Eurovision songs don't appeal to me, but generally any that are a little bit interesting, a little bit any that kind of break the mold from the other ones. I'm bored by sort of the heartfelt love ballads that you get quite often. But if people have kind of kooky camp costumes, or if it's anything that sounds like metal or rock, or even if it's just like an electronic dance song, that kind of stuff gets points from me. I don't like your sort of middle of the road standard popish Eurovision songs. It was Germany's Lord of the Lost with their entry Blood and Glitter. The win was Loreen's second in the competition, after having previously taken the title in 2012 with Euphoria. While she was the favourite, yes, here we are, the controversy. The result came down to the wire after Finnish rapper Kajira proved popular in the public vote and the venue, eventually finishing second. Yes, that's right. The public vote picked a different winner. It was the jurors' vote added to the public vote which got the other one over the line. That was the outrage. That was why I was just having fun on Twitter after the fact. I was having a good old bit of fun, surfing on those trending hashtags, showing outrage, arguing with people who disagreed with the outrage, as one does on Twitter late at night after a few drinks. It was all good fun. And then they suspended my accounts because they couldn't get into their heads that when I said bring back hanging, I didn't actually mean bring back hanging. It was a joke. It's a satirical joke. It's all gone downhill since Musk took over. What can you say? Anyway, next question. This thing. I seem to hear about this every year now, and I swear 2 or 3 years ago I never heard about it at all. The annual Met Gala in New York saw stars explore the adventurous side of fashion, as is the event's tradition. But who went dressed in a full-body cat costume? Well, you know what? At least they're saying it's a full-body costume this time, rather than when we had the question about the award show and it said what animal joined them on stage. And then I was trying to think, what animal was it? And then actually they went, no, it was a person dressed as an animal. At least now they're revealing it's a person dressed as an animal. What? Swiss doesn't have a Twitter account. He doesn't follow me now. Yeah, I had to revert to using my backup, which has like a fraction of the followers. So if any of you want to follow me on Twitter and you don't currently, it's at MD, then the number 4, and then MP, all one word. MD4MP. and you'll be shocked that that's the one I created when I ran to be an MP. All right, who was dressed as who was in a full body cat costume? The perfect fashion statement. Yes, I did it. I did it. Was it Doja Cat? Hmm. Jared Leto. Hmm. Or Lil Nas X. Surely someone with their name being Cat is too on the nose. That's got to be like a bit of a red herring, right? That a person with the name Cat dressed as a cat. It feels too obvious. Jared Leto, I know he's known for doing weird stuff, but Lil Nas X, something about that feels right. Something about saying Lil Nas X feels right to me. It's probably going to be wrong, but no. Oh, it was Jared Leto. Oh, uh, Jared Leto, man, always disappointing me in many different ways. When's Morbius 2 coming out? It was actor and musician Jared Leto. The theme of this year's gala was Karl Lagerfeld, the man behind the Chanel brand for almost 40 years until his death in 2019. Lagerfeld famously loved his cat, Chopette, who provided the inspiration for several looks on the night. Rapper Doja Cat wore a gown featuring cat ears and facial prosthetics to give herself a more feline features. Lil Nas X turned up covering in sparkling silver body paint and Swarovski crystals, wearing a matching metallic thong and a mask that featured cat's whiskers. Of course, of course. How I should have remembered really. Frank says Doja Cat came dressed as Banaka Fatalata from the Doctor Who 2007 Christmas special Voyage of the Damned. You've tickled me there, Frank. You've tickled me. I appreciate that. Not least because I actually rewatched that about 2 weeks ago, so it's fresh in the mind. Oh, that was yeah. You tickled me there. I appreciated that. Sky Echo had also added George Galloway. All right. I've completely lost count of how many of these I've got right. But we're nearing the end of part 2. The war in Ukraine took an unexpected turn in June, where go on, let's give it a try. Yevgeny Prigozhin. It's probably not entirely wrong. I see that this is one of them things. I've read the name 1,000 times, but I've heard it being pronounced many times less. The leader of the Wagner mercenary group fighting for Russia vowed to march on Moscow and topple its military leaders. But from which city did he launch his insurrection? I thought this was a question about him being assassinated, but maybe that was later in the year, I assume. Where did he launch his this one, the very long one beginning with the letter N? That rings more of a bell to me. No, it wasn't. It was Rostov on Don. Welp. Oh, Tom Williams, Cameron Hickman, if you're out there, I've shamed myself. I'm sure you guys remembered. Swiss, I have a new policy. The only polling station in Stoke will be in my house. No advertisements will be made of it, says Sir Richmond. Sky Echo guessed correctly and said the middle one. It was Rostov on Don. Prigozhin had ranted for months at Russia's military leaders about their failures to supply mercenaries with sufficient kit. Blah 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 blah. 2 months later, Prigozhin died when the jet on which he was traveling crashed in circumstances which remain unclear. What unfortunate bad luck, eh? That the jet, that guy that tried to do a coup on Russia that was later allowed to escape to Belarus for a little while, and then he was traveling on the jet, and then it just kind of crashed, It's just one of them things, isn't it? Frank says the plane fell out a window. I was just about to make a joke and say no, the plane wasn't shot down. It just fell down the stairs. But I see we're vibing on the same kind of thing here. All right then. Well, there we are. Congrats if you got that one right, guys. A school district in the US state of Utah removed a book from schools for containing vulgarity and violence. Which book was it? Forever by Judy Blume, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, or the King James Bible? I think I know this one. I think that some states in America had brought in some rules trying to ban certain literature from being in schools. I think mainly from a sort of event of trying to get rid of what they deemed as being like when someone had turned it around and then made an argument that actually the Bible, because it contains depictions of all these violent things and I don't know, incest and slavery and God knows what else, that therefore is also a book that's not appropriate for schools under the same level of criteria they brought in. So I'm pretty sure it was the Bible. I think I remember this one. It was. It was. There we are. It was the Bible. The move followed a complaint from a parent that the King James Bible had material unsuitable for children. Utah's Republican government passed a law in 2022 banning pornographic or indecent books from schools. The banning of the Bible came amid a larger effort by US conservatives to ban teachings on controversial topics such as LGBT rights and racial identity. Bans on certain books deemed offensive are also in place in Texas, South Carolina, and Florida. One school district in Florida had a list of 80 banned books, including the novels by Bloom and Atwood. There we are. I remember some of the news, some of the time. You just can't remember all of the news all of the time. All right, then. Congrats to any of you who got that one correct as well. I seem to have polished off yet another of my Jack Daniels Tennessee Honeys and Coke. So it's time to pour ourselves another one here as we get dangerously close to the end of part 2 and we launch ourselves into our third and final part for this evening. All right. I hope you guys are keeping track of your scores, by the way. I'll be interested to hear how you guys have done playing along with this as well. All righty then. The Glastonbury Festival delivered its usual feast of music with Arctic Monkeys, Gordon Brown's favourites, Guns N' Roses and Sir Elton John topping the bill. But which act had their set cut short after breaching the midnight curfew? Was it Fatboy Slim, Guns N' Roses, or Lana Del Rey? I don't know is the answer. It could feasibly be any of them. If they breached the midnight curfew, I'm assuming that means that they were on last. They were like the headline act. So which of these guys would be more likely to be the headline act on a particular day of the festival? Fatboy Slim, Guns N' Roses, or Lana Del Rey? I'm going to guess not Fatboy Slim. I've got a special place in my heart for Fatboy Slim. No disrespect. I do enjoy a bit of Fatboy Slim, but I don't think Fatboy Slim was headlining. Guns N' Roses or Lana Del Rey? I'm gonna say Lana Del Rey, but I'm not certain. I just don't think it was Fatboy Slim. It was Lana Del Rey. Okay then. It was Lana Del Rey. The US singer was half an hour late for her Saturday night set on the other stage, starting at 11 o'clock with an apology. My hair takes so long to do. Super sorry I'm so late. Her mic was cut at midnight with at least 6 songs left to play, including Video Games, the track that propelled her to fame. This year's festival saw more than 200,000 people gather to hear sets by Lizzo, Rick Astley, Lil Nas X, Blondie, Yusuf, aka Cat Stevens, and Loyal Kana, among many others. Well, there we are. I know a couple of Lana Del Rey songs, including Video Games. I liked that one when it came out. All right then. Well, I got that one right. How about you guys? So Richmond says Fat Boy. Sky Echo had no idea. Frank had said, wait, we're doing part 3. Okay, I'll redo that. Oh, Frank, you're doing me a service here, making me a thumbnail for this stream. Thank you very much. See, look, what Jerry does by throwing money at me, Frank does by creating assets for the YouTube channel. All to curry favor with the voting public. You see how this works as I peel back the curtain here. All right then. Final 2 questions of part 2. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson stood down as an MP after an investigation into whether he misled Parliament over lockdown parties at Downing Street. Which of these lines was not in his resignation statement? Ooh, okay. Which of these lines was not in his resignation statement? I believe that a dangerous and unsettling precedent is being set. It was naive and trusting of me to think that these proceedings could be remotely useful or fair. This country is run by a zombie parliament where nothing meaningful has happened. Which of these lines was not in his resignation speech? I think dangerous and unsettling precedent is being set. That sounds about right. I believe that one was probably included. Naive and trusting of me to think that these proceedings could be remotely useful or fair. Again, I could see that one. Zombie parliament where nothing meaningful has happened. I'm not so sure about that one. Maybe not that one from Boris. That sounds more like the sort of thing Nadine Dorries would have said when she resigned. So I'm going to say the one that was not included was zombie parliament. Yeah, there we are. See, look, he's got to look gracious in him leaving, and calling it a zombie parliament doesn't appear overly gracious. Sky had said middle, so Richmond had said zombie. It was the line about the zombie parliament which actually featured in the resignation letter of MP Nadine Dorries. Oh, there we are. See, this is my footing. The political questions. Actually thought that sounds like something Nadine Dorries would say. Maybe I knew that because I read it and I remembered it. That's possible. I don't remember remembering it, but maybe I remembered it. There we are. The report into Partygate affair followed a year-long investigation and ran to 106 pages. The Privileges Committee said Mr. Johnson announced he was quitting as an MP. It had wanted to recommend suspending him from Parliament for more than 10 days. This could have led to the former PM potentially facing a by-election. However, his resignation preempted any such punishment. Frank says, have you been watching the World Darts Championship? How old is that Luke Littler guy again? I do not watch darts, I'm afraid, or I've not been I don't know any darts. I don't know, and do I know any darts? No, I don't know any darts, I'm afraid. I enjoyed working with Nadine. She was a good MP, says Richmond Awesome in Bed MP. Sky Echo 7, I'm not doing very well this year. I'm sorry to hear that, Sky. If it's any consolation to you, I did not do very well in part 1. I got less than half of them right in part 1. So I feel like I'm doing a little bit better in part 2. But we'll see as we move on to the final question here. All right, then. Singer Kylie Minogue scored her biggest solo hit in more than a decade with the infectious dance anthem Padam Padam. What was her last track to go #1 in the UK? Can't Get You Out of My Head, Spinning Around, or Slow? Oh, damn. Can't Get You Out of My Head. That was either 2001 or 2002. I want to say 2002. Spinning Around. I can't even remember if Spinning Around was when Spinning Around was. Was it more recent than Can't Get You Out of My Head? I'm sure we're still talking early 2000s here. Slow, I can't remember. I've got no knowledge of what song Slow is. I can't picture it in my head. So it's either Can't Get You Out of My Head or Spinning Around, I'm going to guess. The biggest hit that I know of on that list is Can't Get You Out of My Head. But I feel like also it's probably one of the earliest songs on that list as well. So this is the trade-off. I'm gonna have to go Can't Get You Out of My Head. No. Oh, it was Slow. I haven't heard of the subject matter of most so far, says Sky. This is the problem. They keep picking things that we don't know, don't they? It was Slow, which topped the charts in 2003. Okay, so Slow was 2003, so it did come after Can't Get You Out of My Head, because like I say, I think that was 2002, possibly the year before. The success of Padam Padam made Kylie one of only 4 women to reach the UK's top 10 in 5 separate decades. In 5 separate decades! To reach the top 10 in 5 separate decades. So that'd be 2020s, 2010s, 2000s, 90s, and the 80s. Is that how long Kylie Minogue's been around doing music? Wow. alongside Cher, Lulu, Diana Ross. Minogue told the BBC that the song's popularity had surprised her. We loved it as a team, but the way it's taken off is beyond me. The singer had not been in the UK top 10 since appearing as a featured artist on Tayo Cruz's 2011 single Higher. Yeah. To be fair, I'd not really heard of any Kylie Minogue since about 20 odd years ago, to be honest. All right then. Well, apparently it was popular with some of the people out there. All right then. That is part 2 concluded. Guys, have you been keeping score? Can any of you let me know how you did out of the 13 questions on offer in part 2? I got, drum roll, 7. All right. That's not, yeah, it's better. It's better than part 1. Part 1, I got 5 out of 13. Part 2, I got 7 out of 13. So I did slightly better. I suppose I'm happy with that. 7 out of 13. So that makes my total running score at the moment 12 out of 26. So I've still got less than half of them right overall. So maybe I can redeem myself in part 3 here. Richmond Awesome in Bed MP says 100% so far. I'm sure, Richmond. I'm sure. Sky Echo 7 says I got 1. Oh, Sky. Hey, look. At least I know you're being honest. Oh well. Maybe part 3 will be luckier for you, Sky. And like I say, there's points to redeem once we're done streaming now. If you go back and do part 1 again, and see if you can add any onto your score there. All right then. So part 3, July to September. This is all going to be a little bit more recent. This is all within the past 6 to 4 months now. So hopefully our memories don't have to be quite as long for this one. Right then. Part 3 covers July to September. And once again, we have 13 questions. All right then, here we go. July saw the release of the biggest film of the year, Barbie, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and directed by Greta Gerwig. Which film took the second most money at the box office this year? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Oppenheimer, or the Super Mario Brothers movie? Obviously, Oppenheimer, Barbie, famously, they were that double bill, Barbenheimer. Very strange quirk of culture to come along. I've not actually seen Barbie movie. I've seen Oppenheimer. I thought Oppenheimer was good. Barbie, I've still got to get around to watching. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I thought that was good. I thought that was probably the best Guardians film. Definitely one of the best Marvel films that's come out in quite a few years. The Super Mario Brothers movie, I also saw that actually. I had a period of a few months where I was traveling a lot for work, and I usually had quite a few hours to kill in a town centre, at least once or twice a week. And there was a cinema in the town centre, so I was always like just going off to this cinema and watching what was there. And usually it was worth it. And then one day I made the mistake of going and seeing Fast and Furious 10 because my curiosity finally got the better of me, and I'd seen all the other main releases that were out at that point, and it was awful. It's a horrible film. Shit. I left halfway through because I actually felt that I'd enjoy sitting on a park bench and vaping, waiting for my coach, more than I would sitting in the cinema watching it. But that doesn't answer the question of which film took the second most money at the box office this year. Well, I remember in the earlier part of the year, the Super Mario Brothers movie was the highest grossing film of the year in the earlier part of the year before Barbie came along. So I'm inclined to think it was Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm going to say if Barbie came along and knocked Mario off the perch, then Mario is still in number 2. That's my logic behind it. And it was correct. The Super Mario Brothers movie, Barbie took 1.44 billion in cinemas worldwide, making it the most successful film ever directed by a woman. Super Mario Brothers was the only other movie to break the $1 billion mark, making 1.36. Oppenheimer and Guardians fell just short, taking 951 and 845 million respectively. The box office enjoyed its best year since 2019 as the cinema industry continued to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, racking up about 8.4 billion in the US alone. Right, so there we are. Richmond had said Mario. Well done. Sky had said Oppenheimer. It's the only one I've heard of. You see, I had an unfair advantage because I went and seen a bunch of these films myself. I was following all the cinema news about the box office stuff at the time all these films were coming out, which isn't something I do often. But for that particular period of a couple months, I was actually paying attention to films and stuff. All right. That's question 1 out of the way. Bring on question 2. Defense officials in the US and UK admitted that emails had mistakenly been sent to a Russian ally because of a mix-up over domain names. To which African country had they been sent? The Central African Republic, Mali, or Mozambique? I really don't have a clue about this. Is this going to be quite embarrassing for me geopolitically, that if I guess the wrong answer to one of these, then it's like, no, they're not an ally of the Russians. They're an ally of NATO. Swiss. How could you be so ignorant of who all these different African countries are allied to? I don't know this. Right, look. You've gifted both of you, Richmond and Sky. You've both written Mali in the chat, and now I had genuinely no idea, and now I'm forced to answer the same thing that you've answered because that's my best chance of getting this right, even though I feel like it's cheating because I genuinely had no clue. So I'm going to say Mali, and I'm going to get it right. But it's your fault I got it right. I might have guessed the wrong answer if you hadn't written your answers in there. So keep that in mind as I wag my finger at you. It was Mali. The US Department of Defense said that for years, emails intended for the US's .mil domain had been sent to the West African country that ends with the .ml suffix. Some of the emails reportedly contained sensitive information such as passwords, medical records, and itineraries of top officers. The Pentagon said it had taken steps to address the issue. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defense in London said fewer than 20 emails had been sent to an incorrect domain and were not classified as secret or above. Okay, then. Sky Echo 7 says that's me. 1 correct answer for this section. Then, hey Sky, hey, look, you've got 1 out of 2 so far. That's 50%. It's not going too badly so far. Markita Vondarusova made history as she became the first unseeded player. That's some interesting terminology in tennis. To win the Wimbledon women's singles title. Well, I suppose if she is single, she might be unseeded. Who did she beat in the final? Was it Ons Jabeur, Alina Rybakina, or Ariana Sabalenka? Oh, well, look, as you will recall, those of you who tuned into part 1, my tennis knowledge is supreme. I got the first tennis question correct because I clearly know my stuff. And once again, I'm going to say that I know my stuff because, of course, it was Elena Rybakina. No. Well, lightning can't strike twice, can it? It was Ons Jabeur, the Tunisian player, losing out in the Wimbledon final for the 2nd year in a row. Czech Vondarusova, 24, entered the tournament ranked 42 in the world after missing 6 months of the previous season with a wrist injury, but she held her nerve to beat Jabeur in straight sets, 6-4, 6-4. I'm not going to give it. I don't know tennis. I know that something is love. If you get a certain amount of points relative to someone, that's love. The umpire sits in the chair and decides if things are out or not. People hit it with the racket and go, ugh! That's what I know about tennis. I know whatever Wii Sports has taught me about tennis. Strawberries and cream at Wimbledon. There we are. Andy Murray. Tim Henman never quite making it. The Serena Williams, Venus Williams, the Williamses. There we go. That's my tennis knowledge. Hollywood ground to a halt as some 160,000 members of the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union went on strike in a dispute over pay, working conditions, and the use of artificial intelligence. How long did the strike last? Oh, how long did the strike last? 118 days, 148 days, 153 days. I feel like it was probably not 118 days. I feel like the strike went on for a long time, so it was probably one of the longer options of the two. But it's not particularly fair them giving you the choice of 148 days or 153 days. There's 5 days in it there. It was long. I'm gonna go with the longest option. It was the shortest option. All of my reasoning was completely flawed. Okay. It was 118 days. Hollywood writers also went on strike this year, holding out for 148. Ah, the writers. Ah, yeah, they were all on strike, weren't they? Ah, okay. Yeah, I was getting crossed wires there, maybe. The simultaneous shutdowns paralyzed the entertainment industry and disrupted numerous major films and TV shows as famous faces traded film sets for picket lines. Although Hollywood star actors earn millions of dollars, many lesser known performers often struggled to get by, particularly amid rising inflation and industry changes. The 1988 strike by the Writers Guild of America lasted 153 days. Sky had said 153, Richmond had said 118, and Sky said, that'll be what I was thinking of then. Indeed, indeed. Also, a little earlier, Frank had said, is that Jabir woman the Jimmy White of tennis? I'd have to know who the Jimmy White of tennis is to be able to comment on that. Williams Sisters is the last time I watched because I've not had a TV since 2010. Oh, very much flying against the radar. Right then, so we got the right strike one wrong, or I did at least. India became the first country to successfully land a spacecraft near the south pole of the moon when its Chandrayaan-3 mission touched down in August. What was the name of the rover it delivered to the surface? Was it called Luna, Pragyan, or Vikram? I don't really know. Short answer, I don't really know. Surely, I'm very torn on Luna, because Luna, on the one hand, it seems really obvious because Luna's the word for moon, but then again, is it a red herring? These two words sound like bona fide Indian words. They sound solidly Indian because I can't even pronounce the middle one. So, but all of you lot in the chat are saying Luna. No. I will not follow you this time. I will say Pragyan. Ha! Okay. I defied the chat and I got it right. I picked an Indian sounding word and then that apparently did the job for me. All right then. It was Pragyan, which is the Sanskrit word for wisdom. With the success of Chandrayaan-3, India became the fourth nation to achieve a soft landing on the moon after the US, China, and the Soviet Union. Vikram was the name of the lander that carried the six-wheeled Pragyan down to the lunar surface. Earlier in August, Russia's unmanned Luna 25 craft span out of control and crashed while trying to beat India to the moon's south pole. Well done, Swiss, says Sky. Thank you. All right. Next one. Oh, yeah. Oh, Trump. Donald Trump became the first former US president in history to have his mugshot taken after he was arrested on which charge? False accounting, mishandling classified material, or racketeering? Oh, okay. I mean, I know there's all kinds of things that Trump has been investigated for and has got cases of different sorts against him. I'm just trying to remember what the particular thing was that he had his mugshot taken for. I want to say I don't think it was racketeering. I want to say it was either false accounting or mishandling classified material. Both of you guys in the chat are saying it's the middle one, classified. I think with this one, I will agree with you and say mishandling classified. No, it was racketeering. Oh, well. And here was me torn between the first and the second one. Wrong, it was racketeering. The photo taken after Mr. Trump handed himself in for booking at the infamous Fulton County Jail in Georgia. He is one of a number of people accused of meddling in the state's 2020 election result. Of course. There's too much to keep track of. There's too many Trump things to keep track of to remember which is which. God knows how often he's appearing in court at the moment. The Georgia trial is expected to begin next year. Mr. Trump also faces criminal charges on other matters in New York and Washington, D.C., and is currently on trial in a civil case of fraud. Mr. Trump denies all charges against him in all cases. Alrighty then. Next question. Spain defeated England in the final of the Women's World Cup to bring a gripping month of football to conclusion. Who was the tournament's leading scorer? Aitana Bonmati, Hinata Miyazawa, or Alexandra Pop? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this one. Got no idea. I'm gonna say not Alexandra Pop, because maybe if I'd heard the name Alexandra Pop at some point just through osmosis in the past year, it would have stuck in my mind because I would have gone, haha, Pop is a funny sounding name. So maybe one of these two. Miyazawa sounds like a Japanese surname, but then again, that doesn't really mean anything because you can play for any team depending where you've been born. People have heritage all over the place. So that doesn't really narrow it down, does it? In which case, I will say Hinata Miyazawa. There we go. I thought, what's the thing that the quiz wants me to think isn't the answer? That one, sure. Oh, hang on. It was Japan's. Oh no. She wasn't even playing for the Spanish team. This was just who was the tournament's leading scorer. Well, that again, completely flawed reasoning. Then going, why would they have a person with a Japanese surname playing for the Spanish team? Oh, well, maybe her parents moved to Spain before she was born. No, she played for the Japanese team. That makes a lot more sense, I suppose. It was Japan's Hinata Miyazawa who scored 5 goals to bag the Golden Boot despite her team going out in the quarterfinals. Germany's Alexander. So actually, I got that on total guesswork, basically. There's no solid reason why I got that one right. It was Spain's first time winning the tournament, but the victory was overshadowed by controversy after Spanish FA president Luis Rubiales kissed player Jenny Hermoso without her consent following the final. Despite hanging on for several weeks, Rubiales eventually resigned. All right. Well, I didn't deserve to get that one right, but I'll take any points that are thrown my way. Still counts. Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa, all your favourites, collectively known as BRICS, held their 15th annual summit in Johannesburg and invited 6 new members to join next year. Which of these nations was not included? Which of these nations was not included? Oh no, because I remember a bunch of them being added. Invited 6 new members to join next year. Which ones are not included? I feel like Argentina was one of them, but I also would have thought, could Saudi Arabia? No, maybe it wasn't Saudi Arabia. Maybe it was the United Arab Emirates or Nigeria. Could it have been Nigeria? Shit. I feel like it was Argentina. I feel like Argentina is definitely one of the ones that was invited. So it was either Nigeria or Saudi Arabia. I definitely remember a Middle Eastern country being named as one of them that was joining them. So maybe it could have been Saudi Arabia. I've also just glanced at Sky Echo says Nigeria. I mean, my deduction was maybe leading me to think Nigeria wasn't part of the list. Like I say, I'm pretty certain Argentina was one of the 6. Saudi Arabia could well fit because I definitely remember a Middle Eastern country. Probably I remember it being Saudi Arabia. So let's go on then, Sky. Let's say Nigeria. Which one was not included? Nigeria. Oh. Phew. Well done, us. We got that one right. It was Nigeria. Experts say the expansion is being driven by China as a way to counter Western dominance. President Xi Jinping called the move historic. The 6 new countries, Argentina, Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab... okay. All right. So Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. So I actually remember both of them. I forgot Iran. Are set to join in January. Russian President Vladimir Putin did not travel to the summit, but instead joined by a video link from Russia at the end of a really long table. All right, then. Oh, here we are. We're back onto fertile territory here. We know where we're at with Nadine Dorries. Former culture sec and Boris Johnson ally Nadine Dorries stepped down from the House of Commons using a blistering resignation letter to tell Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, history will not judge you kindly. Which of these sentences did not appear in her letter? Oh, God. Oh, dearie me. This might be trickier than we first thought. Which of these sentences did not appear in her letter? You flashed your gleaming smile in your Prada shoes and Savile Row suits from behind a camera, but you just weren't listening. I actually remember that one being in the letter. I remember the phrase gleaming smile and comments on him being all flashy and stuff, so I'm pretty sure that one was in the letter. Service requires bravery and thinking of common good. It is not about occupying the office as an end in itself. As I spoke to more and more people, a dark story emerged which grew ever more disturbing with each person I spoke to. Oh, yeah. This stuff about a dark story becoming disturbing definitely fits the bill when it comes to the picture Nadine Dorries was painting. So actually, probably the more tame of the 3. Service requires bravery and thinking of the common good. It is not about occupying an office as an end in itself. I'm going to say it's number 2. I'm going to say the rather tame sounding one is the one that was not a part of the letter. Yeah, there we go. And Sky got that one correct as well. Well done, Sky. It was service requires bravery, which came from Home Sec Suella Braverman's response to being sacked by Mr. Sunak later in the year. Miss Dorries had initially said she was going to step down with immediate effect on the 9th of June, but did not do it formally until the 27th of August. The Mid-Bedfordshire MP had come under increasing pressure to act on her promise, as she had not spoken in the Commons since June 2022. Later in the year, Miss Dorries published a book called The Plot, which was all about a dark story, which gets more disturbing with every chapter. She claimed offered a glimpse inside the shady dealings at the heart of the Conservative Party. There we are. All right, then. Well, we got that one. Nature lovers were shocked in September when one of the UK's most iconic trees, the Sycamore Gap at Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland, was chopped down overnight. In which century had it been planted? Oh, dearie me. So I've got to remember how old the tree was. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking for some reason 300 years old. I could be wrong and it could be 200 years old, but I'm thinking for some reason 300 years old. So 300 years, counting backwards, 21st century, 100 years ago was the 20th century, 200 years ago was the 19th century, 300 years ago was the 18th century. So 18th century would sound about right if it was indeed 300 years old. If I'm wrong and it's only 200 years old, then it's the 19th century. I'm fairly comfortable it's not the 17th century. So is that right? 18th century? Have I thought that through right? 300 years ago would have been 1723. 1723 Yeah, that would be the 18th century. Yeah. All right. This is, of course, assuming it's 300 years old. If I'm wrong and it's 200 years old, then it's the 19th century. I'm wrong. It was 200 years old. It was the 19th century. Oh well. It was the 19th century. The tree grew in a natural dip in the landscape near Hexham, has been there since the landowner John Clayton planted it in the late 1800s. It's become one of the most photographed spots in the north of England and featured in the 1991 film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves as a setting for a fight between Robin and the sheriff's men. In late 2016, it was crowned English Tree of the Year in Woodland Trust's awards. What an honour. A man aged in his 60s and two men in their 30s were arrested on suspicion of criminal damage and released on bail. Northumbria police said they also confirmed that a 16-year-old boy who was initially arrested in connection with what happened will face no further action. Wow. Ha. And there we are. There was that other thing as well, wasn't there? There was a pub, a crooked, I think it was called Crooked House pub, that was like a protected or listed building. Was it a listed building, or was it they wish it had been made a listed building? But either way, it was a local landmark and it had been around for a long old time. And then it had been sold to some new owners. And then very shortly afterwards, there was a fire. And they all suspected it was a deliberate arson, not least because a digger to clear up all the debris for it had actually been rented like before the fire took place, or something like that. There's something very dodgy with that going on. All right then, so I got that one wrong. We've only got 3 questions left, guys. Okay. Some of classical music's biggest stars played in London's Royal Albert Hall for the first full last night of the proms since 2019. But what caused a problem mid-performance for the BBC Symphony Orchestra lead flautist Michael Cox? Balloons obstructed his view of the conductor. He had the wrong sheet music. Party streamers clogged up his mouthpiece. I've got no idea. No clue. Didn't watch the proms. Had the wrong sheet music. Party streamers clogged his mouthpiece. I've got no idea. Had the wrong sheet music. Nope. Party streamers clogged his mouthpiece. Okay, well, okay. I mean, it made for quite a comical photo. You just rip them off, wouldn't you? You just stop for a second, take them off, and then start again. It was the party streamers in the flute's mouthpiece under the direction of constructor Marin Alsop. The audience was treated to music from the okay, great. All right, got that one wrong then. Party streamers in the mouthpiece. I just thought, no, that sounds far too silly to be the actual answer, but there we are. There we are. All right then, final 2 questions. The Miami Dolphins scored the second highest number of points in a game in modern NFL history when they trounced the Denver Broncos 70-20. Which American football team holds the record of the highest number of points in a game? Which American team holds the record? The Chicago Bears, the New York Giants, or Washington? I know little about sport and even less about American sport. I don't really even know which teams are supposed to be the best teams, and probably that changes over time as well. But the New York Giants are... Here's me wanting to say the Giants are a big sounding team. But what I mean by that is the New York Giants, I've heard of the New York Giants. I've heard of them. Sky Echo 7 thinks it's the Giants. Could be. I'm going to say the Giants. We both seem to be leaning towards the Giants here. I've heard of the Giants. It wasn't the Giants. It was Washington. The only one of the 3 without an interesting name. Oh, well, it was Washington who beat the Giants 72-41 in November 1966. Ah, how could I have forgotten that famous game from November 1966? Silly me. The all-time record before the modern Super Bowl era is held by Chicago, who beat Washington 73-0 in the 1940s championship game. Oh, right. Okay. Well, there we are. Maybe one of you guys knew that. Right. Final question here. A Yamaha Baby grand piano used by the late Queen frontman Freddie Mercury to compose some of the group's most celebrated hits was among almost 1,500 of his personal items to be sold at auction. Also up for sale were handwritten lyrics of several of their songs. Which of these sold for the most? Which of these sold for the most? Somebody to Love, Killer Queen, We Are the Champions. I can't say I know. Of those three songs, I'm not sure if I've heard of Somebody to Love. I know We Are the Champions and I know Killer Queen. So I'm going to guess that me, as a person who doesn't know a lot about Queen, might have only heard the more famous of the Queen songs. So maybe the more famous of the Queen songs would be worth more money. So maybe it is more likely to be Killer Queen or We Are the Champions. Sky Echo 7 thinks it's Champions. Guessing. Could be We Are the Champions. I mean, we're not going to tread over this. It could be any of them. All right, then. We Are the Champions. Let's both go for that one. Hey, there we are. It was We Are the Champions, which sold for £317,000. Wow. Somebody for Love went for £241,000 and Killer Queen for £279,000. But those were all dwarfed by the draft lyrics for the group's most famous hit, Bohemian Rhapsody, which sold for almost 1.4 million. The piano sold for 1.7 million. Other highlights included a bangle worn in the Bohemian Rhapsody video, a silver sequined catsuit worn on tour in the 70s, and a pair of Mercury's Adidas high-top trainers. All right, then. Well done, Sky, celebrating your 5th point there. And we will go to the final results here. Another 7 out of 3. Under Pressure. That's Queen. I know that one's Queen. All right, then. So 7 out of 13 for part 3, which brings us to a grand total now of 19 out of 39 I've got in total from the 3 rounds that we've done. That's practically half. If we can't round it to an exact number, that's almost half. 20 out of 40 would be half. 19 out of 38 would be half. Hang on. Ah, okay, yeah. If 19 out of 38 would be half, 19 out of 39 is... No, that's not half, is it? Shit, no. That's slightly less than half. We're going to call it approximately half. Sky's got 6 total from 2 rounds. Well, Sky, like I say, you can go back and do the first round. You'll get some points from that. And we've got the all-important 4th round still to come at some point in the near future. Well, there we are. That's the end of our bumper marathon, nearly 2-hour-long stream, where we've done the BBC Quiz of the Year. Well done all. See you next year, Swiss, says Frank. Oh, well, we're not done yet, Frank. You see, we've still got part 4 to go. They haven't released part 4 yet, but each part covers 3 months. And they've only done the first 3 months here. So I will hold on to this little slip of paper. You guys keep track of your scores as well. We will reconvene again within the next week, I'm sure, to do the final part of this quiz. That's what you've got. That's what you've got to look forward to for the end of this year. Basically, you've got the Milky Awards and you've got part 4 of the quiz, and then that's the end of our soft content to wrap up 2023. So I will say this again as an additional message to you lot who haven't yet gone and nominated in the Milkies. The form is live now. There's a link to it in the description of the stream before this one. Also on my Twitter, it's been posted on the feed there. Also, there's a post that I made on the on this YouTube channel, if you can read wherever the community posts are. So you can go nominate in the Milky Awards. Those nominations will close at the end of Boxing Day. And what I mean by that is they'll actually close at some point on the 27th when I close them, but there's no guarantees what time that will be. So if you want to make sure your nominations get in, get them done by the end of Boxing Day. And then we'll move on to the next stage towards the end of December. All right, then. When's the next bit Swiss? I don't know. I don't know, I'm afraid. We will just have to wait and see. But I'll put it this way. I don't think you'll be seeing any more content from me until after Christmas now. So let's say the 27th. Let's say at some point on the 27th, I'll probably be back. That's a reasonable expectation. We'll say the 27th. All right, then. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me as always. Go nominate in those Milkies, and I nearly forgot. Have a Merry Christmas. There we are. Merry Christmas to all of you. Catch you later on. Ta-ta.